Beneath a sun-bleached sky and winds that whispered forgotten names, an old farmer named Elias dug into the stubborn earth. His land was dry, cracked, like his hands, like his life. He had no family, no visitors, only silence and a routine carved in dust. But that morning, as his rusted spade struck something hard, fate stirred beneath his feet. Curious, Elias knelt down. Brushing aside layers of soil, he unearthed a small, weathered tin box sealed by time itself. Inside, wrapped in decaying cloth, lay a single envelope, its paper brittle yet somehow intact. On it, in faded ink, were 6 trembling words. To my beloved Claire. If I don't return. His heart caught in his throat. With reverent hands, Elias opened the letter. Each word was a relic, handwritten by a soldier during the Second World War. His name was Private Thomas Ellery. The letter spoke of love so deep, it clung to every line. But buried in that confession was something more, a secret. Thomas had fathered a child before meeting Claire and never had the chance to tell her. This letter was his final truth, a desperate hope to be forgiven, or at least remembered. But it never reached her. Elias stared into the horizon. The fields, once empty, now felt like sacred ground. How many years had this message waited? How many hearts had been left wondering? The old farmer didn't know Claire. He'd never heard of Thomas. But he knew one thing, this letter didn't belong in the dirt. It was meant to be delivered. Somehow. Somewhere. Even if decades too late. And in that moment, Elias, a man who had never left his land, made a choice that would move millions and change the course of 3 generations. The next morning, Elias stood at the edge of his field, not as a farmer, but as a man carrying someone else's unfinished story. He folded the fragile letter into a worn leather pouch and stepped onto a path he had never walked. For the first time in decades, he left his land behind. Armed with nothing but the letter and a fading name, Elias rode a creaking bus into a world far removed from the dust and silence he knew. The city lights were overwhelming. Buildings towered like monuments to lives he'd never lived. But his mission burned steady: find Claire. Find the truth. He went to libraries, asked questions at war memorials, knocked on doors of government archives. Most turned him away, politely or not. But one young historian, moved by Elias's unwavering determination, agreed to help. They scanned military databases, old census records, handwritten marriage logs. Days became weeks. Elias slept on benches, ate from vending machines, but never complained. Then, a breakthrough. Thomas Ellery. Private. Missing in action, 1944. A single photo, young, uniformed, eyes filled with both fear and love. Next, Claire Ashbourne, never married, passed away in 1999. No surviving spouse listed. But one name appeared: Michael Ashbourne. Son. Born in 1941. A tremor of truth surged through Elias's chest. With help from the historian and the online community, Elias tracked down Michael's daughter, Emily, a schoolteacher living in Vermont. When he called her, his voice cracked. I believe I'm holding your family's story, one that's waited a lifetime to be heard. She didn't hesitate. Come. And so, the journey that began in the soil of forgotten land now moved towards something far greater: the restoration of a love interrupted by war, and the healing of a family who never knew what had been lost. The train ride to Vermont felt like a pilgrimage. Elias sat by the window, clutching the letter like a sacred artifact. His hands trembled, not from age, but from the weight of what was coming. Outside, forests blurred into snow-covered fields. Inside, memories not his own stirred restlessly. Emily waited on the station platform, her eyes cautious yet kind. She hadn't known the full story, only fragments whispered through generations. Her grandmother, Claire, had spent her life with questions buried deeper than grief could reach. Elias handed her the letter. This was never meant to stay buried. In her family's old garden, surrounded by lilacs Claire once tended, Emily opened the fragile envelope. Her voice broke as she read aloud Thomas's confession of love, his fear of dying without the truth, and the hidden son he never got to meet. The words carried more than sorrow, they brought presence. It was as if, for the first time, Claire's silence made sense. Emily wept. Not out of sadness, but release. A missing chapter of her family's history had finally arrived. A soldier's love, thought lost in war, had found its way home, not by chance, but through the stubborn kindness of a stranger. News of the letter's journey spread like wildfire. Millions watched the video of Emily reading it, her tears falling onto the page her grandfather once touched. Comments poured in from around the world, veterans, children of war survivors, strangers reminded of their own unfinished stories. Elias returned home quietly, unnoticed by the world he'd just moved. But in the hearts of millions, he had become something rare, a guardian of memory. A reminder that love, once spoken, never truly fades. It simply waits, for someone willing to carry it the rest of the way.